Hello, my name is Keshwani. It's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for GMAT. We have been solving GMAT math problems out of this book here, GMAT Review, the official guide, the 13th edition. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 288. Please turn to it, page number 288, problem number 143 is what we're about to solve, and today is our lesson number 200. When I started this project, I had planned to do 100 videos of data sufficiency, 100 videos on problem solving questions. We have done so. Today is our day number 200. I am not sure, and there are still, I realize, quite a few problems left in data sufficiency and problem solving. But I'm not sure if I'm going to make any more videos of the GMAT math problems, because I've reached my goal. I wanted to make 200 of them. Today is the 200th one. In the event that I do not make any more videos of GMAT problems, today will be the last time that you will see me, in which case I wish you luck on the exam, on the test that you're preparing for. If you need more help, you can go to my website, either keshwaniprep.com or prepforgmat.com. Send me an email and I'll be more than happy to help you in your preparation in whatever way that I can. Let's do this problem. Problem number 143. We are told here that the guy made a deposit of $120 on the 15th of each month. So we have an account in the bank. We're starting out our account at some balance on the 1st of January of the year. And after that, on the 15th of each month, the guy went to the bank and he deposited $120 for some month, as they put it, which I put down here as for n months. And after having made the deposit for first few months of the year, he decided to begin withdrawal, $50 every month for the remainder of the year. Since there are 12 months in a year and he's making deposit for n months, 12 minus n months is what he's going to make withdrawal for, $50 per month on the 15th of each month. It is important, this 15th of each month part is very important, because the deposit and withdrawals that they're talking about occur on the 15th of the month, but the balances that they're telling us and the balances that they ask for are for the end of the month. So you have to pay attention. This part is also very important, knowing the fact that there are no other transactions in the account, otherwise we can't solve it. We are told that the balance at the end of May, you see, the balance is on the end of the May, and the deposit and withdrawals are taking place in the middle of the month. The balance, we are told, is $2,600. Let's see what they tell us, and what they're looking for. Actually, I forgot to talk about that part, the most important part. What they're looking for is the range of his balance from the highest point that he had in the account at the end of any given month to the lowest amount that he had in the account at the end of any given month. And they're looking for the range between the highest and the lowest, the difference between the two. Let's see what they tell us. In the first statement, they tell us that the balance on the April 30th was $26.25. So here is your April 30th. We are told that the balance was less than $26.25. On May 31st, we know that the balance was $2,600. This part goes in a box. This part goes in a box because this tells us, the box signifies the fact that this information came from the problem itself, not from the statement. Because anything that comes from the statement has to be erased when we get to the next statement. But this is given in the problem. What we have to figure out is what happened on the 15th. What happened on the 15th of May? Did he make a deposit or did he make a withdrawal? Because we are interested in looking for range. The answer here is, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Most people, many a times, I'm breaking into a sermon right now, many a times I come across my clients who simply have trouble understanding the concept of data sufficiency. Data sufficiency is so called because that is exactly what you're asked to do. You're simply asked to tell them whether or not you have sufficient data. Nobody is actually asking us what exactly the precise range is. We are not being asked what is the range. What we are being asked is, do we have enough information to be able to figure out the range if we had to? So here, it really doesn't matter whether he made a deposit or withdrawal. I'll tell you in a second why. Okay, let me finish up. The part that I'm about to do is something that you will not do in the real exam if you were able to understand right here. If you were able to understand, it really doesn't matter whether he made a deposit or withdrawal. But I'll wait for it in a second. This part, we will not waste our time in the exam. So, if you made a deposit of 120 on the 15th, which means since he has 2600 and he made a deposit on 120 on the 15th, which means he must have had $120 less, which is 8. So we get 2480, and the problem tells us that on April 30th, the balance that he had was 2650. So that works. What if he had made a withdrawal? That's another possibility. Maybe he made a withdrawal of $50. If he made a withdrawal of $50, that says 50. If he made a withdrawal of $50 on the 15th of May, and if he still has 2650, or rather 2600, which means that he must have had 2650 on April 30th. He must have had 2650 on April 30th. He withdrew $50 and he ended up with $2600. That's the only way that is possible. But he did not have a deposit of 2650, a balance of 2650 rather on the 15th, because we are told that his balance on April 30th rather, he couldn't possibly have had a balance of 2650 on April 30th, because we are told that he did not. We are told that his balance was less than 2625. His balance was less than 2625. He would have had to have 2650 in the account, 2650 on the account on April 30th, and then he withdrew $50 and therefore ended up with 2600 on May 31st. But he cannot have 2650 because we are told that. We are told that his balance on April 30th was less than 2625. So he did make a deposit. He did make a deposit. Now I'm going to tell you that all of this was a sheer waste of time, and you will understand why in a second. So now we know that he made a deposit. Why? Why doesn't it matter? Because now we know that he made a deposit here, which means he had been making deposit all throughout. Because you see in the problem it tells you that the deposits and the withdrawals that we're talking about are consecutive. He either consecutively makes a deposit in the beginning of the year, or he makes consecutive withdrawal. He does not go back and forth. He doesn't make a deposit, then a withdrawal next month, then a deposit, then a withdrawal, nothing like that. So if he's making deposit in the beginning of the year, he continuously makes a deposit in the beginning of the year for a few months, and then he stops to make a deposit and he begins to withdraw. And once he begins to withdraw, he does not make any more deposit. Therefore, trying to figure out here whether he made a deposit or withdrawal is a moot point. It's a moot point. Why? Why is it a moot point? Because it doesn't matter what we figure out here. Let's say we figure out that he made a deposit, or let's say we figure out that we made a deposit. The question is, what happens after that? So if he made a deposit here on the 15th of May, do we have any way of knowing whether or not on June 15th he made a deposit or withdrawal? Whether or not on June 15th he begins to withdraw money? That was his last deposit? Or did he continue to make the deposit until the November? One more time, I'm going to say slowly. You see, now we know for a fact. We know for a fact that he made a deposit on May 15th. But what happened on June 15th? Maybe he made another deposit. On July 15th, maybe he made one more. Maybe he kept making deposits until the end of November, November 15th, and he made only one withdrawal on December 15th. That is possible. Or maybe that was his last deposit, May 15th, when we found out that he made a deposit. Perhaps that was his last deposit. And after that, beginning with June, he begins to withdraw money. Because we have no way of knowing what he did for the remainder of the year, beginning with June until the end of the year, we do not know if he continuously made deposit for 11 months, he made a deposit for 11 months, or did he make a deposit, or was his last deposit was on 15th of May. Which one is it? We do not know, and there is no way of figuring it out. And of course, without that, his balance at the end is going to change. His balance on December 31st is going to be different after, depending on what he did. So it doesn't matter even if we know the beginning part. We could actually sit there and waste our time trying to figure out what his balance was on January 15th, which is possible to figure it out, because obviously if he made a deposit on the 15th of May, he must have also made a deposit on April 15th, March 15th, February 15th, and January 15th. He made a deposit for those 4 months. And we could figure out what the deposits are, which is very simple to do. It's simply 120 times 4 and add that amount to whatever his balance is on May 15th, and we will know his exact, subtract rather that amount from the balance that he had on May 31st, and we'll figure out what his starting point was. But figuring it out, starting point, again would be a waste of time. We need to know the starting point and the end point. Since we already established that there is no way to figure out the end balance, his balance on December 31st, knowing his starting point, again, is a matter of supreme indifference to us. It's a moot point. We cannot figure out the range until we know both ends. This only tells us the beginning portion of the story. This enables us, the fact that he made a deposit on May 15th, we know now that he must have made a deposit on April 15, March 15, February 15, and January 15. So we can work backwards and very easily figure out what his starting amount must have been on January 15th, but that's not going to get us anywhere. The first statement is not enough. The first statement is not enough. Perhaps I explained way too much. Sometimes I feel that I explained way too much. The first statement is not enough. Since the first statement by itself is not enough, A, D, B, C, E. Because the first statement by itself is of no good, answer cannot be A or D. Let's look at second statement. Let's see what happens in the second statement. In the second statement, they tell us that the balance on June 30th was less than 2675. You see, again, it's the exact same situation. In the exam, you shouldn't have to sit there and waste your time analyzing the second statement, because whatever it is in the first statement, whatever logic that it applies there is the exact same logic is going to apply here, except here you have to be quick enough to realize that in the first statement, what we were able to establish is that the guy was making deposit from January, February, March, April, and May. We knew that for a fact that he made a deposit in January, February, April, and May, because we figured out that in May 15th he made a deposit, which means he must have made a deposit in the previous months also. We simply did not know how many more months the deposit went on. Here, my gut feeling is that it is the withdrawal that we'll be able to not tell. In other words, in the statement number one, right, here's our statement number one. Here's our big end point. Here's our beginning point. In the statement number one, we were able to figure out the beginning point. We just have no way of knowing the end point. What was this ending balance? Here, my gut feeling is, it's just going to be the opposite because it's similar information. It's either going to be the opposite part or they're going to repeat the same damn thing that they tell here. But we're not going to be able to figure out the beginning and end from this thing because this is the exact same pattern, exact same structure as the first one. Let's find out, shall we? So we know now that on May 15th, on May 31st rather, on May 31st, it was 2600. And we are told that on June 30th, it was less than 2675. What happened on June 15th? Did he make a deposit or did he make a withdrawal? Did he make a deposit or did he make a withdrawal? Now, if he made a deposit, then the story will be the same as before. If he made a deposit, which means we can work backwards and figure out the starting point, because if he made a deposit here, he must have been making a deposit in the previous month. We can figure out the beginning part, which I don't think is going to be the case because that was the case with the first statement. Most likely, if you were to analyze this thing, you will come to the conclusion that he must have made a withdrawal. So if he made a withdrawal on June 15, to which we will say, who the hell cares, because we do not know whether or not he made a withdrawal on July 15th, August 15th, September 15th, October 15th, and November 15th. Perhaps he kept making withdrawal, and on the very last month, on December 15th, he made a deposit. So here, if it turns out that he made a withdrawal, we do not know if he made a withdrawal for 11 months, and he made one deposit, or in statement number 1, we had a situation where we could not tell whether he made a deposit for 11 months and only one withdrawal. It's the exact same thing. It's just a mirror image, if you like. Listen, just for curiosity, this is not something we'll do in the real exam, but just for curiosity, just to show you that most likely case is that he made a withdrawal here because deposit was the first statement. Let's find out, shall we? If he made a deposit of $120, because of the fact that it was $26.50, he made a deposit. It'll be $2,600 and 120 is 28. No, he could not have made a deposit on the 15th of June, because then it would have. Did I make a mistake here? Did I? It's 20. Even then, even if it's 27.20, it doesn't matter because his balance would be 27.20 on the 15th of May, and since nothing is happening between 15th of May and the 15th of June and the 30th of June, and we are told that on 30th of June his balance was less than 26.75. This is 27.20. He did not make a deposit. You see, he made a withdrawal. He made a withdrawal of $50. And he made a withdrawal of $50. His balance was 2,600. He made a withdrawal of $50. It is 25.50, and 25.50 is indeed less than 26.75. We are told that his balance was less than 26.75. So he must have made a withdrawal. He must have made a withdrawal. He could not have possibly made a deposit. That's it. That's all there is. So second statement by itself also gets us nowhere. The last part that we're going to do is also something we do not actually need to do in the exam. You have to be quick enough to realize that the first statement, it's right here still actually, I haven't erased it. This was the first statement. First statement was able to establish the beginning part. The second statement is going to enable us to establish the end part, because now we know that he made a withdrawal. Once we know that he made a withdrawal on the 15th of June, he continues making withdrawal until the end of the year. So all we have to do is take this balance and keep subtracting $50 from it every month. His balance was $2,600 on May 31st. From June until the December, there are 7 months. 7 times 50 is 350. His ending balance is going to be 2,600 minus 350. Voila. It is something we didn't have to do that. It's a waste of time, you understand? But it can be done. It can be done. His balance must have been 2250. But who the hell cares? The point is, it is possible to figure out the end point. It is possible to figure out the beginning point. And since we have the beginning point, the end point, obviously we must have the exact figure for every single month. And if we are able to figure out, it is possible to figure out the exact balance on every single month. We can very quickly see where is the highest point in the sequence, where is the lowest point, and we know our range. Putting the two statements together will do the job. The answer is C. The answer is C. Because we know the beginning part, we know the end part, we can figure out the range. Not because this is the lowest and this is the highest. That's not the reason. The point is, we can figure out the balance on every end of every single month very easily. Now, what I'm about to do right now is something we will not do in the real exam. We're going to do it here just to learn for learning purposes. We are going to actually figure out the range. We don't have to. Because nobody is asking us what is the range. They're simply asking us, is there enough information to figure it out? To which the answer is yes, there is. We just showed it. Let's do it out. Sometimes people complain when you show them the solution to the problem in the data sufficient. They say, how can they possibly ask these ridiculous questions which take 20 minutes to figure out? To which my answer would be, to which my answer always is, that is exactly what your problem is. Your complaint is that, how could they possibly ask questions like this which take 5, 10, 15 minutes to figure out? Well, that's your problem. You shouldn't be figuring it out. Nobody's asking you to figure out the damn thing. Okay? Nobody's asking you what it is. They're simply asking you, is it possible to do it? Let's do it out. Purely to satisfy our curiosity. So putting the two together, 1 and 2, here is our April 30th. We are told that it was less than 26.25. Here is our May 30th, which we are told is 2600. It is in the problem, so it deserves a box. And then June 30th, we are told that it was less than 2675. Based on the second statement, we just found out that based on the second statement, we did the work, and we found out that on 15th of June, he made a withdrawal. He made a withdrawal. We know that for a fact. We also know, based on the work that we did earlier, on the first statement, we found out that on the 15th of May, he made a deposit. Made a deposit. Well, there you go. If he made a deposit on the 15th of May and he made a withdrawal on June 15, then that was his last deposit. And that was his first withdrawal. Voila. So what's going to be the figure? What are going to be the figures? Well, let's find out. If this was his last deposit, and we know the balance was 2,600 on May 30th, that means he made 5 deposits. January 15th, January 15th, February 15th, March 15th, April 15th, and May 15th. He made 5 deposits. So therefore, if you were to take this amount, 2,600, and add to it 5 times 120, 5 times 100 is 500, and 20 times 5 is 100, so it's 600. 600 plus 2,600, 3,200 must have been his balance on April 15th. On April 15th, because on April 15th he made his very first deposit. So, of course, on the first of on January 15th, his balance was $3,200 in his account after he made a deposit of $120. There is no point for us. There is no point in figuring out, wasting our time to figure out what he started out with on January 1st, which is simply 120 less than that. But there is no point in figuring it out, because in order to figure out the range, we are interested in the highest point. This was the highest point. The lowest point is going to be on this side after he begins to withdraw. So this is his first withdrawal. How many withdrawals from June 15th to December 15th? Again, don't just say 6. Count. I always count. It only takes a couple of seconds just to make sure. June, July, August, September, October, November, and December is 7. It's 7 because July through December is 6, and then June is the 1. So he made 7 withdrawals, which means his balance was 2,600 on May 30th. On May 30th, it was 2,600. Now we're going to subtract, withdraw 7 times 50. 7 times 50, which is 350, which is why I inadvertently ended up writing 35. So 2,600 minus 350, 2,600 minus 300 would have been 2,300, so it's 2,250. Voila, that's your range right there. That's his range. That was his range. As I always remind you, and as I have been reminding you in this video, probably like a parrot, I probably said it 5 times, 6 times, who knows. It is a waste of time. We didn't have to do that. We didn't have to do any of this thing. You just had to be quick enough. See, you have to understand the purpose of the data sufficiency questions. Data sufficiency questions are designed to gauge how well a person can think. You have to, they're trying to see, you have to remain calm, you have to remain collected. They're trying to see if you can think straight under pressure. When the clock is ticking, time is running out, there is tremendous pressure. Can you think straight to analyze the given information? You don't actually have to do it out. You give that out to your underlings, to the people who work under you. You analyze it. You see what can be done. Now go ahead and do it. You don't have the time to do it yourself. That's what they're looking at here. They just want to see, are you quick enough to make those kind of decisions under pressure? Are you quick enough? Can you think straight to be able to tell whether you have sufficient data to be able to answer the question if the question needed to be answered? Do you understand? That's it. I think it's been a very long video. I didn't mean to make it such a long video, but I break into too many sermons. Like I said in the beginning, today is probably the last time you're going to see me. Good luck to you one more time. Okay? Bye now. It's been a pleasure.